Hey guys, Coach Andrew here with the NCHS Bass Team here. Today I'm making a video to go over the equipment and then lures and baits that you will need to be successful in our 2026 season and every season moving forward. Most seasons moving forward. So what this is going to be is a very high level explanation of equipment and lures and just kind of a baseline of what you need to get out in the water and start competing within the club. So first I'm going to start with the rods and reels. This right here. Oh, we gotta spin that around. So right here is your bait casting reel. Some of you may be familiar with these, some of you may not be. What this is a Daiwa TWS SV. This is a Senko Victory rod. Now, the brands aren't the important part. The important part to go over is the actual components. So we'll start with the rod. A good all-around rod for what you'll be doing within the club is probably a 7.3 or 7 foot medium or medium heavy fast. 7.3, 7 foot, medium heavy or medium with a fast tip. That's what you should look for. And then as far as the reels go, you're gonna want probably 100 size reel, I would recommend. And then you're gonna want something that's either a 6:4 or 7:3 gear ratio. You don't want a super slow gear ratio, you don't want a super high gear ratio. You want equipment that's going to be able to do a various different applications. So you get the rod, you get the reel, and then the most important part is the line. I recommend, just generally speaking, 15-pound test for just your various applications. I use up to 17, 20, 25, and I'll sometimes even go down to 12. But just for everything you need, 15 is the way to go. So we'll start with that. And then next, we are going to have a spinning rod. This is probably what most of you are familiar with. This is a Shimano Stratic, and this is G-Luma C GCX. Like I said, brands don't really matter. What you're going to be looking for with this is a 7 foot. I'm sorry, my dog is playing with her toy, so we're just going to have to deal with that. 7 foot medium, 7 foot medium or 6'8" medium, whichever one you're more familiar with. And then I get a fast tip also. Again, super simple, 6'8", 7 foot medium fast tip. That's going to cover pretty much all your bases. Just like I said, in a general overarching theme. For line, what I like to use 12 to 16 pound braided line. You can, there's a bunch of different brands. The brands, I'm not really brand specific. I use various different brands, but Suffix makes good line. Even Power Pro makes good line. That's more the budget line. I use Sunline. So it doesn't really matter, just as long as you get 12 to 16 pound test. And then also, I always work a leader. And that'll be something we can talk about later. But I just wanted to get the, just like I said, the overarching theme of what we'll be doing. I usually recommend 1,000 size. I think this one is 1,000 size for the reel. Yeah, this is a Shimano Stratic 1000. I recommend that for a good starter reel. So yeah, that's where I would start. If you have the option, definitely you want to have one bait caster and one spinning rod. I recommend if you want to be more on the competitive side with the club, you're probably going to want at least 2 of each, but 1 of each to start is not bad. Next, we're going to cover some baits. Now, lures and baits are, really dependent upon what you like and, what you're comfortable with. But I'm just going to go over some baits that I know that in the places we fish for practice, for the seeding in the tournaments, for just kind of getting you ready for what you're going to see out in the club. These are the baits that I chose that I think that you should have for sure in your tackle box to be successful. So we'll start with the first few practices we have are in the beginning of the year, March, April. So I'm going to go over some baits that I would definitely have and definitely be throwing. First one is a Chatterbait right here. These are both Berkeley. These are both Z-Man jackhammers. I would recommend probably a 3/8 or ½ ounce. And as far as color is concerned, I would definitely get either like a white, it's a clear water shad, or like a green pumpkin. This is actually just green pumpkin. One of these 2 colors will always work. Bluegill is always a really good color too, so I picked this one out. Get like a bluegill color. As far as brands are concerned, I can throw some links down in the bio here, and you'll be able to see that. I like the Z-Man brand. These are jackhammers. These are more expensive, but they make a line called Evo, which I think they're $10 each, so it's a little cheaper than the Jackhammers. Next is a classic spinnerbait. I love throwing a spinnerbait, especially in the springtime, especially around here in ponds. This is a War Eagle 3/8 ounce spinnerbait with a willow and Colorado blade. This is a super stable spinnerbait. Again, great for ponds around here. And the third one for the really early beginning time of the year I choose are rattle traps. These are both Booyah hard knockers. This one's in red. Red really works well in the spring, but if you want something that's just kind of going to be very versatile, like a white or shad color is going to be what I would recommend. All right, moving forward, it's going to start getting a little warmer. The bass are going to start spawning. The grass is going to start growing in these ponds, and it's going to be sort of the tail end of our season. So usually that's kind of the end of our seeding season, where we start to figure out who's going to fish in the tournaments, and it's going to kind of roll into tournament season. So the last few events of the club for the points are going to be in this kind of late pre-spawn, early spawn part, and then leading into the tournaments, it'll be like a lot of spawning, and then going to the summertime. So baits that I recommend for this time of year, we'll start with these two right here. This is a swim jig. You're gonna want to put a trailer on it. It's just kind of like a cast and retrieve type bait. It mimics bluegill. Bluegill on their beds. Bluegill up shallow. The bass are starting to feed, starting to protect their beds. They hate bluegill the time of year. They hate bluegill all the time, but specifically around their beds. So that's a great bait. Next is a jig, a small jig. Like I think this is a quarter ounce jig, ball head jig. This can be light. It's used to be able to come out of grass easier. You're gonna be able to fish it more effectively. Bass love jigs all year round. Whether it's you can throw this in the springtime too, when those baits I showed up before. You can throw these then. But a jig's something to have all year long. And I think this is a great, especially on the spawn. You can fish it on beds. You can just fish it around. It's a great bait. You're always going to have a trailer on it. This is a Zoom speed craw, but the trailer is really dependent upon what you want. So I wouldn't worry about that part too much. Next is classic. These are Senkos. Gary Yamamoto Senkos. Bass Pro makes a great Senko too. Actually, Bass Pro is one of my favorite Senkos. They're great budget Senkos. So you can get these. You can Texas rig these, or you can rig them to the center, classic wacky style. And then finally, this isn't really a bait. This is more of a rig. I'm going to show you, but this is definitely a standard rig that you're going to want to know. So this is a Texas rig. Now, if you're not familiar with Texas rig, I'm going to show you how to rig it up right now. So Texas rig is super versatile. You can put any kind of soft plastic you want on it for the most part, and it's just a great tool to have in your arsenal. So let me show you how to rig a Texas rig. So first thing, you start off with your line. So have your line come through, piece of line. You take these bobber stops. I got a bunch of them. Ask me for them. I have a ton of them, or you can buy at Bass Pro. Everything you see here you can buy at Bass Pro. I purposely picked lures that you can buy at Bass Pro, or you can buy them online, so they'll be readily available to you. So bobber stop, you take that, you thread it onto your line, like so. All right, you got a bobber stop. Looks like this. Pull the bobber stop up your line so it's out of your way. Next, take a weight. As far as weight's concerned, 1/4 ounce or 3/8 are what I would recommend, especially fishing around here. Quarter is easier because it's lighter. It doesn't get hung up in the grass or the mud as much. So we'll use a 1/4 for today's example. Right here, 1/4 ounce. You slide it down there. Oh shoot! I just dropped it. All right. Take 2. Make sure you slide the pointed head up on the line. All right. It's gonna look like this when it's done. All right. Almost there. Last thing here. You're gonna get your hook. Today we're gonna use an EWG. So there's 2 different styles of hooks. All right. So there are EWG, which stands for extra wide gap. That looks like these. And then there is your punching, flipping, whatever, pitching style hook, short range combat hook. So this is it right here. This is a straight shank. So it's a straight shank hook, extra wide gap hook. You can see the difference here. Difference here between the two hooks. EWG, straight shank. Close quarters, pitching, flipping, casting, longer distance. In my opinion, this is more versatile. You can use these even in these applications. It just depends. I would recommend getting these. As far as sizes are concerned, I would for sure start with a 3/0, 3/0 or 4/0. 3/0's more versatile. You can fit more baits on it, especially smaller baits you're using around here. 3.5 to 4 inch baits work great on a 3/0. Once you get up to like a 4 inch bait, maybe a 4/0 work better. It just really depends, but I would recommend starting with 3 and 4/0 size for both of these. All right, so today we're gonna rig up EWG. So here's the important part of that. Take your line, you thread it through here. So you have it set on a line like this. Then you take the line again, part you just put through, you put it back. So now you have a loop off one end, all right? A loop like this, your line. So your line through, loop like this. So it looks like this. And you have your weight and your bobber stuff there. So sitting there, all you do is you make an overhand knot like this. Again, I'll pull it out. All right, overhand knot. All right, next you have an overhand knot. You have this big, you have another big loop here. So you take this loop, and you put the hook through the loop like this, and then you slowly cinch it. Usually, I like to get like a little spit on it or water on it. That way, it lubricates the knot so you don't burn it when you cinch it together. And there you go. So once you have that, you then take your bobber stop, pull it down to the weight. Now, this is an important part. I like to keep an 1/8 of an inch above the weight, so it has a little bit of degree of freedom. If you cinch this thing down to where it's taut, the bait's not going to be as natural in the water. It's a little more rigid, and it's not going to be as good a presentation. So keep that bobber stop about an 1/8 of an inch above the weight, and that gives a lot more free range of motion. That is stuck. And also, you got to cut your tag end off. I don't have my scissors here, so we're gonna have to use my rusty pliers that I've had forever that probably don't even cut. Let's see here. Oh, actually worked better than I thought. Okay, so now you have the Texas rig right here. Let me show you how to rig up a bait. So we're gonna use a cross style bait today. So here's the bait. So here's what you do. Super easy. Take the bait, start from the butt end. You stick the hook in right to the bend. So right to that first initial bend. So about, boom, right there. Pop it out like so, and you just feed it. You feed it all the way up the hook shank till it gets above that bend, and bam. So now you have it like that, and all you do is you just kind of line it up, push the bait back a little bit, and then what you want to do is you want to push, not on an angle, you want to push this thing straight through and have it pop through. Now the reason you do that is because if you put it on an angle, you're going to have more resistance with the plastic against the hook. So you set the hook on the fish, have to travel through more plastic, and it'll decrease your hook ratio. So the least amount of plastic holding up the hook is best. You push it through, and then you can see the kind of hook pop out like that. And what I like to do is kind of pull it back and skin hook it a little bit, so it kind of buries that barb, and it's less, less likely to get weeds on it. There you go. That's what it should look like when it's done. Just like that. Now, let me show you with the other hook as well. So we're just going to have to pretend that there is line and a weight on this, but very similar put it in, not all the way to the bend though. Put it in, I would say just a little bit past the barb, pop it out, slide it up, slide it up, slide it up, slide it up. And then once it gets past this, the keeper, it's right there, bring it down. Now this one's a little different. You're gonna wanna line it up, push it up a tad, and then kind of work it back through. Now this one's gonna be more on an angle because of the nature of the hook, but you push through until you feel just like the little bit of the tip poking out, just at the smallest part. And then it'll look like this. And that's pretty much it. So the reason why I want to go over this today is because the Texas rig itself, I just hooked my dog. The Texas rig itself is so versatile in the sense where you can put Senkos on it, you can put craws on it, I mean, you can put worms on it. You can pretty much put anything on it and it'll work all year long, and it's a great presentation. So that's what I want to go over as far as lures, baits, equipment, just kind of the overarching theme of where we're going to be going. These lures are going to work great. These are things you should have ready to go on the beginning practice, especially if you want to be competitive to fish in the tournaments. Now, lastly, I want to talk about the actual tournament preparation. So the biggest thing for these tournaments is not being the best. Like there are kids out there that are going to be better than you. You're going to be better than some other kids. The biggest thing you need to have is make sure you have the skills to be able to put yourself in the position to catch fish. And what do I mean by that? The biggest thing I've noticed within the club is casting. Casting is so important. So being able to put your bait exactly where the fish are is the difference between you catching fish and not catching a fish. So what does that mean for you? It means right now it's February. So if you go in your garage, go in your basement, go somewhere where you can take your bait caster and then go set up some cups, or just, you don't need a cup, just tie a Texas rig, bury the hook in the plastic so there's no hook poking out, and just make practice pitches and casts around your basement or in your garage so you can get accuracy on making those placements. Even this, you can even do it with spinning rod. Just whatever rod you have, whatever equipment you have, becoming better with casting is going to be the difference between you getting on the tournament boat and you succeeding in the tournaments. So that's my biggest takeaway. I'm going to be watching very closely this year at who can make the best casts, and we're going to also be applying points to people that can make the best casts and also have the best mechanics out in practice on the water. So I really appreciate you guys watching this. Again, this is going to be a video I'm probably going to have up for the next few years. Something I'm going to make, and hopefully everyone wants to watch this to get a good idea of what they're getting into and also what kind of equipment they should have starting into the season. So I'm really looking forward to this year, guys. Really looking forward to the group we have, and I'm looking forward to getting out to state. So have a great one, and we'll see you guys soon.